Recording soon.
Okay, cool. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar on demystifying coding for the classroom. We'll just allow a few more minutes for the others to join in, and then we'll get started. We're just going to wait for 2 more minutes, and then we'll get started. Welcome everyone to this webinar. All right, hello everyone, and good day, and welcome to our webinar on demystifying coding for the classroom. My name is Karan Vaswani, and I will be the presenter for today. Along with me, I have my colleague Beth, who will be on the call to be giving you some links that I will be sharing as we go through our presentation. I hope you enjoy this webinar. So just today's agenda, we're going to do a small introduction to BSD education, just to kind of, for the ones who are joining us for the first time, let us know that you know what we do a little bit. We'll talk about coding in the world, what is coding. We'll show you some sample coding projects from BSD. And then at the end, we'll open to questions and answers. So a little bit about me. My name is Karan Vaswani, and I work as the professional development lead in Asia for BSD education. So what I do is I manage all of the teacher professional development training in Asia. I also manage all of our after school camps and holiday camp programs in and around the Asia Pacific region. I have a team of instructors who I help to deliver classes to students. And from time to time, I also work with some of my own students in delivering some classes virtually as well as in person when they are here in Hong Kong. So a little bit about BSD education. So BSD education designs, develops, and delivers programs of learning for digital skills, enabling teachers to bring real-world technology education to every classroom. So what we provide is we provide curriculum, we provide an online platform, which you'll see very shortly, and we also provide training and support to the teachers, and that's what we believe provides a real impact. So together, all of these three provide real impact for teachers and as a result for their students as well. So BST empowers educators to teach digital skills. So we divide the skills that we teach into hard skills, soft skills, and values. So the hard skills that we teach are coding and programming, data analysis and representation, and content creation. Now, through our lessons, we also inculcate some soft skills for the students. So students become better communicators, collaborators, and they learn to think critically as well. Some of the values that we imbibe in our students is curiosity, adaptability, resilience, and empathy. So we always want them to seek to learn new things, never be afraid to try something new, and also be a little bit thoughtful on how their work and how their technology actually impacts the world. So let's take a look a little bit about coding's influence on the world. So here's a quote by BSD's CEO and co-founder, Chris Geary. He says that although not everyone will be a programmer, everyone will work with technology. And I'm sure all of you will agree with this. So code is everywhere, be it in your elevator, your car, your AC unit, code is everywhere. So as an example, if I need to switch on the AC, I press the button that actually basically runs a function to switch on or switch off the AC, or similar things like adjusting the temperature. At the same time, your elevator, when you press the button or when you press a button for a particular flow, it's programmed to take you through to that particular flow. Now, that's why we say code is everywhere. So some of us don't even realize it, but code is actually everywhere in everything that you use nowadays. So what you see here is a research that has been done by McKinsey. And this was done in the US and in Europe as well. And what this research shows is that more and more people are spending time on cognitive skills, social and emotional skills, and technological skills, whereas less time is being spent on things like physical and manual skills and very basic cognitive skills. So you can see there's a demand for these skills. And that's the reason BSD education provides curriculum and support to teach digital skills, because we see how much in demand it is and how much it's actually needed for the modern workforce. So my colleague Beth will be able to share you some more links on the research. So if you're interested, please do check out those links and more details about the research that was done by McKinsey. So are we long or short on talent? So 50% of the workforce will need retraining or replacing within 5 years. And this is currently affecting 800 million people globally by 2030, which is not too far away. And 375 million people must switch occupational categories and learn new skills as well. And what research also shows, and this is continuing from the research that McKinsey did, is almost 1/3 of organizations are unprepared to upskill and reskill their workforces. So I'm sure all of you will agree that digital skills are critical to the success of every young person in the future. And the last 18 to 24 months has shown us this even more, that digital skills are very, very important for anyone growing up in today's world. So coming a little bit out of digital skills and into coding specifically. So what is coding, right? So coding is actually easier than many people think, and can provide a gateway to understanding around about how the digital world around us actually works. So you can see here with BSD provides an IDE, so an integrated development environment for coding in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So as we go through the slides, and as I show you some projects, you guys will see a little bit more about our coding environment as well. Now, coding basically is how we talk to computers to tell them what to do. We use coding languages to build websites and games. Now, the three languages that we use and which are quite commonly used as well in the world are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML is used for the structure and content of a page. So things like words and images. If you want to add words and images to your page, you would use HTML. But if you wanted to make that page look really pretty or really attractive, you want design it in a better way, you would use CSS. So CSS is for your styling, formatting, resizing. That's why we use CSS. And the reason we use JavaScript is what helps to make a website interactive. So as an example, when you're playing a video game and you're about to quit the game, you always get two options, right? Like, are you sure you want to quit the game? Yes or no? And depending on which choice you click on, it takes you to different parts of the game. And these are all done using, the logic for all of that is coded using languages like JavaScript. So today I will be guiding you through HTML and CSS to make a simple digital recipe card. So as I mentioned, HTML is for the content and structure, and CSS is more for the design and styling. So in HTML, what we add is we add the text, we add different sections, we add images, and we also add the buttons inside HTML. Moving on to CSS, we add things like the background, the size, the fonts, the colors, and we can even adjust the position of various elements in CSS. Now, why did we choose the project of a digital recipe card? Because I'm going to tell you now how is coding similar to a recipe. So coding is basically where we use code to give instructions to a computer. And a recipe is where we follow instructions to make a dish. So we're basically providing instructions to come to some form of an end outcome. So when coding is probably a website or a game, and with a recipe, it's obviously the final dish that you're preparing for yourself or someone else. So what makes a good recipe? So if I had to ask all of you here, please feel free to participate or put your answers in the chat. What do you think makes a good recipe? Please feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself. Anyone? What makes a good recipe? Okay, so at least for me, what makes a good recipe is where the ingredients are clearly laid out and the step-by-step instructions are easy to follow, keeping into account that we can just read it and follow exactly without having to assume anything else. So that's what makes a good recipe for me. Now, in a recipe, you have different sections. So you have the list of ingredients, you have clear instructions, you have an image of the final dish, a list of substitutions if possible for dietary requirements, and obviously you don't want any ads if it's an online recipe as well. So this is what a sample recipe looks from our BSD project. So we can use code to actually make a digital recipe. So Before we move on, I'm going to show you the recipe card project in our BSD platform. So on BSD, we use a project approach to actually teach our students how to build their final project. So in this case, the project that they'll be building is a recipe card. And you can see here that we have a set of 14 steps that will help them to build this card. So we'll be using HTML and CSS to create a recipe card and to teach others about how to create a recipe of their choice. So you can see here on the very first step, there's nothing much to do. We just show a sample of what the recipe could look like. So one thing that makes it much easier for students is to see what can the final outcome look like, and then they can, add their own things and imagine their recipe coming to life as well. So if I go into the next step, just waiting for that to load. Sorry about that. Just a small. So you can see here that on our projects, we have three main sections. So we have the left section, which is the instructions. The middle section is where you enter the code. And your final section on the right-hand side is your output. So to create the recipe card itself, we're going to use an HTML div element. And you can see that for both the teachers and the students, we actually provide more information on what a div is and how you can actually use a div in your project. So you can see here that we have interactive glossary cards that teachers and students can use to understand more about a particular syntax. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy the syntax and I can paste it within the gap here. And it also says to give it a class called card wrapper. So if you check objectives, you can see that you've done everything and you can move on to the next step. So obviously the box itself has not been styled, which is why you don't see it on the output just yet. So if I move on to the next step, just wait for the next step to load. Right, so you can see here now we've come to CSS. So in HTML, we've added the box, which is the div. And now we're actually going to style that div to actually make it visible. So what we're going to do is we're going to say width 500 px, and then I'm going to say height, oops, spelled that wrong, height auto, which means how much ever I add to the box, the height will keep extending. And then I will add a background color, which is the hexadecimal code for white. So now if I check objectives, you'll see that I got that right. And that is how you move on with the various steps of this particular project. Okay, so obviously I'm not going to take you through the entire project, but just to show you, this is how we get our students to go through step by step with our platform and to actually finally build out their recipe card as well. So just to show you some more sample projects. So BSD can be used by any teacher, any subject. So you can see web pages used in biology, history, or even in music where they've created a timeline. So absolutely any subject, any teacher can use BSD. You can see here a project created by one of our students. It's a multi-page website where they built a website for a community organization. And as I said, we want to inculcate empathy into our students. So they've basically taken that value and built this particular page as well. Now, if you want to try BSD, today we have a total of 7 different projects in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And don't worry if you've never done any coding before, because these projects actually include video tutorials, live coding, and access to the BSD code glossary that I just showed you. So my colleague Beth has already sent us a link on app to get to those free projects. These free projects are also available on the Hour of Code website. So you can choose to either access them through the BSD website or the Hour of Code website as well. And if you have any questions with the particular projects, you can contact my colleague Brent, who is reachable at bh@bsd.education. So you can see what are the different free projects that we offer. So we offer an AI webcam image classifier. So it's a project that actually teaches you how to enable the webcam. And then you have other projects on jokes and riddles, my favorite website, people who inspire me, and a trivia game maker as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this session. We definitely do need your feedback. So here's the link to the feedback form. So if all of you can please fill it up and give us your most honest feedback as well. Beth, if you can put that link in the chat too, that would be great. Right, so thank you all very much for attending this, and I hope you guys got a little bit of an idea on demystifying coding and what coding is, and how BSD can actually help to demystify coding for you. So with that, I'm going to stop my presentation, but now we're going to open for questions and answers. So does anyone have any questions on coding? Can be anything related to coding or teaching coding that you may want to ask. Yes, Rishma, that's a very, very good question. Would there be anything which would be applicable for primary students? So in fact, our content library has been built for students aged 8 to 18. So we have a number of introductory courses for primary students, which can be used in an in-school setting as well as an after-school setting. So students can learn to create web pages, posters, basic quiz games as well, which would be a good starting point for primary students. So to know more about our curriculum, please do get in touch with us, and I'm sure we'll be sending you a summary email as well. So we can definitely love to chat and know what the requirements for your students are. And the good thing is that whenever your students do use the BSD platform, all of their work will be saved inside a portfolio. So there will always be a record of what was done in case teachers need to ever share that with the parents or anything else as well. Great. Sure. I'm just going to put my mail address in the chat, and if you can just send me an email too, so I have your email on record, and would love to connect and see how we can help you bring BSD in your classroom. Perfect. Awesome. Anyone else with any questions or comments? Don't see any more questions or comments. So if there are no more questions or comments, then we can wrap up the session here. I have sent my email address in the chat, so if any questions do pop up later, please do feel free to get in touch, and I'd love to discuss anything that you would like to. All right. So in that case, we'll stop here. So thank you all so much for joining the call today. And thank you for joining our webinar series, and wishing you all a very happy holiday season and all the good wishes for 2022. Thank you, everyone.